Jordana, when the phone rang, it just like it didn't stop ringing. We were getting 5, 6, sometimes 10 a week.
It's been a struggle trying to find someone who is dedicated to that area of law.
But we love this work because if we don't do it, who's going to do it?
Tell us a little bit about what you do with Gosai Law.
We do a lot of personal injury work, an immigration department, a real estate department, family, and we do a lot of prison work.
We don't give a shit. Jail's supposed to be like this. Don't talk to me about inhumane. What do you say to the people in society who take that frame of reference?
I could have been one of them. Without the right people and the right support system in place, you cannot write off a 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old and tell me that they're not going to amount to anything for the rest of their lives because of something that's happening right now. Absolutely not.
Welcome back to another episode of Who Judges the Judge, the podcast intended to make you question the way you judge the world around you. And I can guarantee you that today's guest will make you do just that. I am here with Nital Gosai, the owner of Gosai Law. Am I saying that right?
That's correct.
She is a lawyer. She is an entrepreneur. She is a businesswoman. She is not only in the legal space, she's also in the tech space in a really incredible, phenomenal venture called Husmates that we are going to talk about shortly. She will likely change your perspective of what it means to be a personal injury lawyer and where that comes from and where it can take you. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Excited. It's funny, when we got started, I said, of all the guests I've had, on this is, I think we're at 26 or 27 episodes right now. I know your story the least. And so I'm so excited to learn about your story as we have this conversation.
I'm really happy to be here. So thanks for having me.
You have an incredible history, an incredible story. Tell us a little bit about what you do with Gosai Law.
Yeah, so it started off as a personal injury firm in 2011. I was, about 2 years into my career as a lawyer at a big personal injury firm where I felt just, the writing was on the wall in terms of what my growth was going to look like or how it wasn't going to develop in the direction that I wanted it to. There was a lot of rules around what we had to bill and how we had to bill.
Okay.
And so I was at this juncture where I'm like, I don't know what to do. I either go onto the defense side and learn something there, or I bet on myself. And so I decided to bet on myself and took my assistant. I actually didn't take her. She came with me. She was like, if you're going, I'm coming with you. I just want to make sure that the record is straight on that point, that she came with me. And together, her and I just popped ourselves in the middle of Brampton and in between Vaughan and opened the doors and didn't know what to expect. But thankfully just kept on going and growing the business to what it is today, which is that we do a lot of personal injury work. We've now got ourselves an immigration department, a real estate department, family, and we do a lot of prison work.
Which I'm so excited to talk about because I think at least once, if not twice a month, I have someone reach out to me looking for a lawyer to help represent someone in custody with a personal injury claim or a human rights claim that has nothing to do with their criminal case. And so they just want a referral. And it's been a struggle trying to find someone who is dedicated to that area of law. How big is your firm?
So it has shifted over the years, and COVID had a big part to play in us kind of finding our groove with how many we need. But I'd say we're at about 19 full-time staff.
Okay.
And then we've got about 4 outside staff,
Just
contract workers. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Did you always have like an entrepreneurial side to you? Like, were you always about building a business? Because I think a lot of people don't realize being a lawyer and then the business side of law are 2 very different skill sets. I know phenomenal lawyers who can't run their business and phenomenal business lawyers, like they run a phenomenal business, but they're not great lawyers.
Yeah.
And it's particular human that can do both. So was that entrepreneurial spirit always in you?
Yeah, yeah. So I take after my dad, who is was a serial entrepreneur. He's still around, but he's retired now. And in speaking to some of my old classmates from law school, they'll remind me, you used to say in first year, I'm going to open up my own law firm. And they would say that they'd look at me and be like, this girl's crazy. Like, she doesn't know the last thing about being a lawyer, and she's already talking about opening her own firm. So I always knew I was going to open up my own firm. I think timing was something that I wasn't sure of. But yeah, it happened a lot sooner than I anticipated. And, I learned a lot. A lot of mistakes were made. And
Yes.
like you said, the business of law is not an easy one.
No.
And certainly not in my space. So
I don't think in any space. I think it's just a different skill set. And we're not taught that in law school. We're not taught how to run the business of law at all. We're barely taught how to be lawyers. We're just taught about the law as a construct.
yeah.
Did you always want to be a lawyer?
My mom always wanted me to be a lawyer. So people ask me this question, did you know always? No, I didn't know, but my mom knew.
Okay.
So since I was 5, my mom has been telling me that I'm going to make a good lawyer. So my big brother, he was supposed to be a doctor. He did not do that. And I was always, since 5, supposed to be a lawyer. What I wanted to do was be an actor.
Okay.
And I was just told that that's not a job like that. There's no security in wanting to be an actor. And it's actually frowned upon or back then used to be frowned upon in the South Asian community. So my mom knew. And then at some point I started also wanting the same thing that my mom wanted. So the switch did happen.
What made you want to be a lawyer?
I think for me, I did watch my mom really struggle. My father suffered from mental health illnesses kind of throughout my life, my young life specifically. And my mom was a homemaker and an immigrant who didn't really speak English. So she relied so heavily on my dad for everything, finances, this, that, the other, direction in life. And I just watched her struggle, not just in the relationship, but I watched her struggle with our, with the police, with the hospitals, with all of those parties, those authorities that were involved in my dad's care or not care at that time. And I wanted to make sure that she wasn't alone. And so I knew at about maybe 11, okay, I'm going to become a lawyer because I want to make sure that my mom's not alone.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you wanted to look after your mom.
Yeah.
What were the issues your dad was struggling with?
So he, from when I was younger, I remember had bouts of anger that would show up. And there was violence towards my mom. As far as I remember, maybe I was 5 or 6 when I first saw it myself. And it wasn't until I think I was about 11 that he was finally diagnosed with bipolar, with loads of manic episodes. And then it just progressively got so bad that he was going to be incapacitated on finance and person. They were going to take it all away. And we were able to kind of work with the system at that time and make sure that he still had some agency. But it got really bad because we didn't know. Like as a family, as an immigrant family here in Ontario and in Toronto, at that time, 25 years ago, we didn't know. People weren't talking about mental health in the way that we talk about it so openly now. And so I'll be honest, everybody in my family and the extended family thought he was possessed.
Oh,
like
wow.
they were like, he's possessed by demons.
Right.
Like we need to have him exercise. And I kid you not, he was taken from, here to India to Africa in pursuit of exorcism. And that sounds crazy, but it's even crazier for a 5, 6, 7, 10, 11, 13-year-old witnessing all of this chaos happening. And then finally, hospitals, doctors, everyone gets involved, psychiatrists get involved. And we're like, okay, there's a diagnosis.
Okay.
There's something medical here.
Right.
And then that helps us to start at least get into the medical system and start getting him some help.
And were you raised in a household to keep that a secret? Like, was that a big family secret for you?
Pretty much. So we had an inner circle of family friends that knew, and an inner circle of family outside of the country that knew, each giving and weighing in on what they thought we should do, but no one really besides a few small group of friends ever coming to help.
What did you do to sort of process or overcome that? And I ask because so when I grew up in a household wherever there was sort of anything that would shed a bad light on the family, it was a secret.
Mhm.
So, when my mom and dad divorced, when my dad left, my dad had episodes of violence as well. Stepson got arrested, like all of these things. Everything was like a big family secret. And so
Mhm.
I walked through life from the ages of like 2 to 12 with like significant, you know, uh, disruptions in the home that I had to keep secret and I had to keep them in me.
Mhm.
And that culminated in a lot of my bad behaviors, at
Mhm.
12 that resulted in me being in a group home at 14.
Mhm.
So for you growing up in that household, what did you do that allowed you to either process or deal with what you were experiencing, especially with such a young age when you're not necessarily equipped to deal with these issues?
Yeah. It's a tough one because I feel like my coping was to stand up and speak up. And I remember being 6 or 7 and seeing like a really big bruise on my mom's eye and knowing that my dad did that to her because I heard it the night before.
Right.
And then my mom grabbing me and my brother, my little brother must have been a baby, and we walked to the park, and my dad, drives in his big van, and he like threw the house keys at us. And I remember going back just to see him for a second and him saying, "Oh, you're going to choose your mom over me, right?" And at that time, I think the only way for me to process it, or how I must have processed it, was, well, she can't do this on her own. And I was clued up enough, even as a kid,
At
to know,
6.
absolutely, to
Yeah.
know that
You were born
you
to
got
advocate.
this, she doesn't. So
Right.
she needs safety and safeguarding and support. You don't.
Wow.
And I also saw him as the aggressor. I also saw him as the head of the family. And so I knew that he's got this.
Right.
And so I just focused on her. And I think that I only processed it as an adult. Like, I didn't process anything.
Right.
I think I processed it through a bad marriage. I processed it through now having my own kids, making sure that I'm kind of not doing those things. But I did repeat it. Like, it's kind of wacky. I saw it. I probably didn't properly process it. We too were asked to keep a lot of everything that we experienced a secret. Like, asked to keep it a secret, not even expected. It was specifically asked of us. Don't tell people this.
Yes.
Like, that's us.
Oh, yeah.
This
I
is
had
our,
the same.
right?
Yeah, yeah. We don't talk about
So
these
we
things.
don't talk about these things. Everyone doesn't need to know our business. Yes. Or you know what, Jordana, I'm still processing it. I don't know. Maybe that's the correct answer.
Okay. I mean, I don't think there's a correct
Yeah,
answer.
they're not correct, but like that, maybe if I'm honest with myself, maybe I'm still processing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you work to move through it?
I do.
Okay.
I try.
Yes.
I try. And mostly I try because I also ended up being in a relationship where I experienced violence in the home and, emotional and physical. And so I had to process that for myself. Why was I staying? Why was I this? Like, why was it a secret? Why was I keeping it a secret? Like, kind of repeating some of those same patterns that I was a part of as a child. And then I have a daughter. So I was like, no, we're going to process. We're going to talk. We're going to make sure that we work through this. So I call myself a walking WIP. I'm a work in progress, but I definitely
I think we all are.
That's great,
I
right?
think we all are.
I take the time to sit there and like feel what I'm feeling and to deal with it. And if I can't deal with it, at least find a way to move through it, and find an alternative.
So your dad gets diagnosed when you're 11.
Yeah.
And that must have been huge for you and your family because now at least there's a reason that your dad is acting the way that he's been acting.
Yeah.
And you said he's hospitalized, he receives the treatment that he needs.
Yeah.
Does it stabilize him?
No.
Does he get the help he needs?
No. I think what we didn't realize about bipolar disorder is that part of it is that once they feel better, because they're taking the medication, they believe that they don't need the medication any longer.
Right.
And so he would be so non-compliant with medication. So we would go through, at that time, it was every 6 months. that we would have significant episodes, but he was a business owner. He had a prominent printing and binding business here in Toronto, and he kept on working. He had like 35 staff. They kept on working. And so he was still held in high regard in our community and socially and in our home. And so if he said, I took the medication, we had to believe that he took the medication, but he wasn't taking the medication. At least he wasn't compliant with it. So 11, it's like now every 6 months, then the time starts to shorten. And it's not until I think that I'm 15, 16 where it's now happening a lot more frequently. And by the time he loses his business to this, I think I'm 18 or 19 at that point, it's happening every 3 weeks, every month.
And when medicated, how was he? Like when he was on his meds between episodes, what was that like? And I ask that because right now you walk through the streets of Toronto and we see how many people are out in the streets who are really unwell. And it's so easy for the average person who has no experience with mental illness to judge or to think poorly or to be afraid, crossing the street, getting away from this person who seems completely out of sorts. But, I've worked with people who have significant mental health issues. And so I see the change between medicated and unmedicated and how they are medicated is so very different. What did that present like for your dad?
Two different people. For sure, two different people. When properly medicated, and consistently medicated, he was like the dad we remembered, fun-loving, kind, jovious, like just the life of the party. He was wonderful. And then it's almost like we knew when, he's losing sleep. Now it's, okay, one day he hasn't slept. Okay, we're on to third day he hasn't slept. And then the manic starts and the, behavioral changes start and then something else would happen. But he was a different person. And I just love that you're bringing this up because it makes me think too, what you just said, that, on the streets of Toronto, we see so many people. And like my dad was one of those people on one of those days,
right?
When we couldn't find him for 2 days and he's roaming the streets and often not properly clothed. So yeah, it's a really important message, right? To people out there that are dealing with it or that are seeing it, that we definitely can't judge them because if you met my dad today,
right?
Oh my God. He is like grandfather extraordinaire. He is the yin to my life's yang. Like I can't live without him. Like he does everything for me and the kids. He does our laundry. He comes over, he picks the kids, he brings food over that my mom makes. Like it is unrecognizable, the person in those years that was dealing with what he was dealing with to who he is today, like worlds apart.
How long did it take for him to get to a place where he realized that he needs to continue taking his meds in order for him to continue being well with himself and therefore being well with the family?
When he lost his business.
So you're 18-ish.
Yeah, I was about probably 19. Something happened that day when he had to call the trustee and say, that's it. I'm calling it quits. I can't do it. It changed. He just became so focused on self-care, became very involved with the temple. And my mom was a huge part of all of this for him, pushing him to get out and create community outside of the community that he once had through work, but to create spiritual community. He gave up alcohol. Like he gave up a lot of these things that weren't good for him, that weren't helping him manage the manic depression. So I'd say about 19, something happened. And then one time thereafter, he was hospitalized, but he was only hospitalized because he himself said, I'm feeling like it's coming on. To my mom, will you take me to the hospital?
Wow.
And he's never been since.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the shift came from within and obviously with the right supports and the right help.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what's missing. That's what we're missing right now.
Yeah.
In Toronto especially.
Yeah.
I can't speak to other communities, but I see it in Hamilton. I see it in other cities that I visit, we don't have the wraparound support that's needed for mental health and for addiction, quite frankly. I didn't appreciate it until a friend of mine went into the addiction space as a counselor. There's these timelines that make it absolutely impossible for someone to get the help they need if they don't have family support, and so many people don't, right? Your dad fortunately had a family who wasn't going to throw him out after the 10th or 12th or 20th episode and continued, taking him back and seeing the person that they loved so much.
Yeah.
But, we see it all the time in the criminal justice system where people don't have that family support, and so they never get back on track.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure my dad, if he was the one sitting here, would tell you that, it's my mom didn't ever give up. I think a lot of the reason she stayed was culturally embedded in her. You don't leave someone that's sick. That's her husband.
Right.
And trust me, when we were teenagers and seeing this happening, we would tell her, leave him. What are you doing? Right. But when I look back and I think of what she did to keep this family together is insane. Like, I don't have that in me. I am not made like that. I'm like, Mama would have left. But kudos to her. She kept everything together. And now we get to kind of talk about these things as a family openly. And unfortunately, my younger brother was also recently diagnosed with bipolar, but we've got the support system in place.
Yes.
And
now you know what to do.
We know what to do. And he's not quite there yet where he's like, okay, I'm gonna do what dad did and like really focus in on my mental health and take care of it. But he is on I'm gonna be healthy. I'm not gonna drink. I'm not gonna put substances in my body. I'm gonna clean myself because I don't want to have the longevity of experience that dad had with this. So
what were your teenage years like dealing with all of this?
I was a rebel.
Were you?
Yeah, I was a rebel.
Yeah.
I think like inside of the home, I was just such a strong advocate for my mom.
Right.
And then come nighttime, I was like, where's my friends at? I was a rebel. This is going to get me killed. But I took the car. So the one thing my parents did to me.
You stole your parents' car?
I did. I stole my parents' car.
I love how you want to rap. I took the car. You didn't take the car. You stole the car.
I didn't have a license. This is horrible because,
I'm sure I can top it. Don't worry.
Yeah. My parents, I lived in the city.
Okay.
I grew up in the Junction, like Davenport and Old Western Road.
Oh,
like,
wow.
I grew up here in the Junction. And then I turned 14 and my parents like, just kidding, we're moving to Oakville. And I was like, what? Oakville? Like, what is that? So we moved to Oakville. My friends are here.
Right.
I'm totally in rebellion phase. Like, I'm in high school. I'm wearing kilts. Like, I'm not allowed to wear kilts. I'm wearing dark lipstick in my purse at school. Like, it's just, I was doing all the things. They moved me to Oakville and I'm like, oh, no. This can't be my reality. My friends are over there. So by night, I was the stealer of the vehicle.
Okay.
Driving down guys that QEW by myself without a license.
At how old?
15.
Wow.
Yep.
Serious rebel.
Serious. And like so
especially
confident
female
rebel.
In a South Asian family coming from Oakville.
Yeah.
Whitest of the white communities.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I was a confident rebel. This is what I said to my, to myself. I'm like, confident. I can drive well. I can park this car.
Who taught you?
My dad taught me.
Your dad taught you how to drive?
He was like one of those cool dads when he wasn't dealing with these things. He was just like, want to get behind the wheel and figure out how to drive a car? And I was like, yeah, Dad, I want to do that. And so we would
That's kind of like an invitation. Maybe I take back that you stole the car.
It's his fault.
I think you borrowed it. It's kind of like, I mean, implicit permission when he's teaching you at that age.
They don't know that I did that. But yeah, I did it. I did it often.
They do now.
They do now. I did it often. And my brother was like this. My older brother, like I said, he's 13 months older than me, but he's such a good kid. He was so good. He behaved. He listened to the rules. And I was just the rule breaker. I broke all the rules.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I talked to all the boys. I drove in all the cars. I got on all the backs of the motorcycles that I wasn't supposed to. Yeah.
And was that just, so grade 9, you're like 14-ish?
14, yeah.
And so that's a few years after your dad has been diagnosed,
Yeah.
but he is back and forth. This is at like the height of the trauma in the
Yeah.
home. And what's interesting is so many people, write people off and don't give any credit to the environment that they're coming from. And it's so easy to write people off and not consider the reason they're finding themselves in the position they are. And so obviously, you're unbelievably intelligent, you're very accomplished, you've done all of the things, and you're not even close to finished doing the things that you want to do. And we'll talk about that. But clearly it wasn't anything, it wasn't an intelligence factor, it was an environmental factor. And we don't spend enough time recognizing that in our school system and trying to help people in these challenging environments continue to excel. Because I'm sure that with the right time and the right guidance, you would have.
Yeah. Now in my practice, when I have a younger client, let's say college level or high school, and we see their grades having been affected because of an injury that they've suffered, but they've got horrible grade 9 and grade 10 marks, and opposing counsel makes the argument, well, they weren't going to amount to much anyway.
Right.
I'm there to say, here's my grade 9 marks. Like, I
Right.
have them available. If you respect me, then you must respect this position I'm going to take with you, which is that you cannot write off a 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old and tell me that they're not going to amount to anything for the rest of their lives
Yes.
because of something that's happening right now. Absolutely not. So I
Especially
hate that it happens.
Me too, especially traumatic that's happening.
Yes,
I
yes.
represent a lot of youth on some serious violent cases, and I
Yeah.
get shit on by people across the country that send me hate emails and DMs that are just like, how do you represent this person? They should be locked in jail for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you looked at me at 16 years old, you would have thought I should have been. I was arrested. I was sent to jail twice. Like, I just can't fathom someone writing off a human at that age. And you're, a perfect example of why we can't do that. And the root causes of the why, because again, it's not like you were acting out without reason. There was a very good reason considering what you've just told us about your home environment. So your practice is based on helping other people and helping other people who have been injured. So you have your plaintiff-focused personal injury practice, but then you also have a significant amount of your practice that's focused on helping inmates in the prison system. Tell me about that. How do you get into doing this work? What does this work look like? Because there are very few civil lawyers who are helping inmates. They exist. They're out there. There's a couple of class actions dealing with some of the, horrible inhumane conditions of jails that we have been speaking about in the media for a very, very long time, that half the population cares about, half the population doesn't care about. It's an interesting dichotomy right now. But how do you get into that? What does that look like?
You get a phone call.
Just one.
At your office.
Yeah.
Someone from inside seeking representation.
Right.
And for us, it was between, so I have another beautiful thing to share is that my assistant, the one that had come with me,
The one that you didn't steal.
The one I didn't steal, ends up going to law school.
Okay.
Osgood, doing her LLM at U of T, and is now doing her PhD in law at Osgood.
Oh, wow.
So we get this phone call, and we sit down, and she's like, okay, what do you want to do? Because it's a big decision, right? It's a big decision for us. We're not used to representing clients in this space, so there's going to be a bit of a learning curve.
Of course.
We're up against the province, and at that time, I believe that there was considerations with the federal government as well. So,
and what was the legal issues, without obviously naming who the client was, but what was the legal issue that this first case sparked?
Yeah. So this person was stuck inside of a class action.
Okay.
And they had missed their opt-out deadline.
Oh.
And their experience, though, was so significant that they deserved an individual claim. and that we could see it. We
Right.
could see that this person's experience in this specific situation was so significant that whatever couple of $1,000s that would be allotted to them 10 years down the road when this class action finally settles is not enough. This person needs to have an individual claim. And it wasn't going to be enough for them to go through the individual process within the class action kind of framework. So we said, okay, this is going to be crazy, but let's do it.
What was the treatment that they were receiving in jail that you believe justified them having their own claim?
So it was segregation,
Okay.
prolonged, constant segregation. It was layered with charter violations, not being able to prey on the range, being placed with other incompatibles. For us, it was clear that that was intentionally done as a form of retaliation because this specific person was quite outspoken inside of the jail system.
Had he been convicted of an offense yet?
Yes.
Okay, so this was while he was serving his sentence.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Which I think 99% of our clients are inside. Yeah. And so it just felt like the conversation as we had it just felt like we're ready. We've been doing a lot of plaintiff-heavy personal injury work by that point for 5, 6, 7 years. Right. We felt ready to do something that made us feel like we were making a difference in a bigger way. Right. We're now not just representing people against billion-dollar insurance companies. We are doing something for people that that if we say no, they don't have access, period. Nobody's going to work on a contingency retainer for someone that's on the inside on a matter that we don't know how it's going to shake out. Like we have no idea. So it just felt right. And that's how it started.
Did you win?
Yeah. We did.
You did.
We did.
You pulled them out of the class action?
We did.
And then you won the case.
Yeah. We had to go to the Court of Appeal though to do that because the lower court said, nope. Final order is that notice was given. He knew, ought to have known, blah, blah, blah.
So you had to go to the Court of Appeal just to get him out of the class action?
So what we did was we filed a statement of claim on his behalf as an individual. Ontario told us, no, you can't. He's stuck in the class. So I can't remember exactly what it was that brought us, but we said no. There wasn't proper notice. We brought that in the lower courts. The judge that was presiding actually was also the one that had approved the notice. Ooh, so interesting. And then that judge found that notice was proper, not duh. That judge was going to find that shocking. His decision was rendered to us in an endorsement that was handwritten. Of course, none of this stuff in motions court is, properly recorded. And then we had to appeal that decision and we won on that it wasn't proper notice. And so we were able to take him out of the class action. And now we're still battling the powers that be for what that quantum's going to be at the time that we resolve, but at least he has an individual claim.
Wow. How long have you been fighting that one case for?
4 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
How prevalent is it that you are representing inmates in custody on civil claims?
Jordana, when the phone rang, it just it didn't stop ringing because I think that there's the only way that information gets disseminated, I think, properly inside of these prisons is through word of mouth.
Right.
And so we would just get these collect calls constantly. And it did become overwhelming because we had other practice areas and we definitely had to make sure that our clients, all of them, were getting properly serviced. So in the beginning, it was like the floodgates had opened and we were getting 5, 6, sometimes 10 a week. Now I would say that they're 2 a week. 3 a week. I think our peers in the industry also know that we do this work. So if they get the phone calls, they'll send them to us.
Right.
But we love this work. We love this work because if we don't do it, who's going to do it? They're humans. They deserve to be taken care of properly. I remember going to Kingston Pen to meet a potential client who says to me, beyond the glass, "You're going to do this for me even though you know I killed someone?" And I said, "Yeah, I don't care that you killed someone. Like, I'm not here to judge you morally. I don't even know why that happened.
Right.
And I'm not here to find out about why. I'm here for you to tell me, how are you? What's going on with you here?" And then he tells me, and I'm like, "Let's go sign the retainer."
Wow. And
Yeah.
what were some of the issues that he was facing that you are now litigating?
Massive, massive injury. No one cared to take him to hospital for days upon days upon days, requiring surgery after that maybe he wouldn't have had to go through had they had just taken him to hospital. Then they take him to hospital, he's getting seen, and they're like, "Shift's over, gotta go back." What is happening here? These are people who need medical care that did not get them when they needed them. So,
What do you say to the
yeah.
people in society who are like,
Mm.
we don't give a shit, jail's supposed to be
Mm.
like this, don't talk to me about inhumane,
Mm.
the guy killed somebody, so
Mhm.
whatever he suffers, and he deserves it, and this is God's punishment. Like, I could go on and on. There's so many things that I hear from people in the public who actually think that we should just be throwing quote unquote criminals in a cell, you shove them 10 to a cell. Why are we even feeding them more than once a day? I could go on and on.
Yeah.
The messages that I receive when I try
Mhm.
to stand up for the rights of inmates, and I don't do the civil work, and I don't do anything close to what you're describing in order to assist, because obviously I
Mhm.
work within different confines. So what do you say to the people in society who take that frame of reference to the work that you do?
I could have been one of them, without the right people and the right support system in place. My younger brother could have absolutely been one of them. We are not born bad people. I truly believe that our environment, our socioeconomic positions, um, trauma that we endure, um, what we were ingesting at the time that we were inside of mom's womb, we don't know uh, what kind of an effect that had on us. It is so short-sighted to think that people just do bad things because people somehow decide that that's what they want to do.
Right.
That is short-sighted. And I'm a spiritually guided human being. Like, I have a fantastic relationship with God. It's on my terms. And I just don't believe that any human deserves to be treated badly because they did something bad.
You are also in the tech space,
Mhm.
which I don't know how you find the time. It's really phenomenal, and I don't want to end this episode without talking about what you are doing in that sphere. One, because of how incredibly it connects to your story, and two, because of just how meaningful it is to the community. And I think it has the potential to reach so many others.
Mhm.
So, talk to me about your tech venture.
Yeah. It's called Husmates. And in short, the problem that we're solving is the housing affordability and accessibility issue that so many urban city centers experience. And what we've done is we've created a platform where you can go and meet people and match with them for the purposes of seeing if you are a good fit to co-own a property together. And so what Husmates, it's powered by AI technology. So you put in some information, you create a profile, and based on all of that information, Sarah, our matchmaker, she will give you matches. She'll say, "Hey, look, you know what, Jordana, I think you would really match great with X, Y, and Z person." You then get an opportunity to speak to those people. Let's say you decide, yeah, like this feels great. We kind of want to buy a house in the junction, want to buy a legal duplex together. So you've done a little bit of dating, becoming financially naked in front of one another, and we help facilitate all of this.
Right.
And then we help you get financed. And then we help you buy the property through our trusted agents. And then we help you close it with a lawyer. So the idea is to be kind of the one-stop shop to meet, match, and buy with people that are like you so that you can create intentional communities with them, but that you can get on the home ownership ladder and participate in the equity that, growth that you can experience through home ownership, get off of the rental kind of hamster wheel if you want to. So we're making housing available for more people.
Why did you get into that? What was the catalyst for Housemates?
Yeah, my brother and I co-own a house in the city, and my brother's queer, and him and his husband, both of them at respective different times in their lives, experienced housing insecurity because they were gay in Indian houses or in Indian homes, where the values that they had didn't align with what they were being taught. And so they thought, oh gosh, we're going to have to leave and we're going to have to run away from home and we're never going to have a safe home. And then for me, it was my experience, on the road of becoming a single mom that I was like, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to be housing secure? And so we joined forces and bought this gorgeous house together, or bought it, a house that needed a lot of work, and then turned it into this beautiful house together, and providing security for both of us. And so we really just want to bring this to everybody. Bring it to everybody. You can do it. Everyone can do it. And not everyone has that brother or sister or aunt or uncle. So we're here to introduce you to people that can be that person for you.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, we cannot drive through any major community in Toronto without seeing tent cities, encampments, homeless people who can't even afford rent, people who are struggling to feed themselves. Can we expect a version of your app that might match people who are unhoused in order to rent a space as a starting point? Because people are complaining that they can't afford the rent in this city, understandably so, given what the numbers are. But is there room for a version of your app that connects people the same way it does right now for ownership to co-rent a place?
Yeah. I can't say no. That's such a beautiful idea. And my brother actually worked in design for the homelessness. So what he used to do through one of his organizations is teach homeless people how to design to build their own furniture for their spaces. So whether it be tables, chairs, things that they could use in their home. And so it's very, very, and because of our experience with our dad and now our brother, it's very important to us as a company, but also just as a community to give back. Right. So I imagine, well, you've just planted the seed, and now at the next meeting, I'm going to bring this up because I think that that's a fantastic idea. And what we do at Husmates is also allow people to get on the ladder that don't have the same financial position as somebody else. So you don't have to have the best credit score. You don't have to actually have the same down payment as maybe Jordana does. You can bring less to the table and equalize over time based on what your home ownership split looks like. So coming up with these, innovative ways to get people into housing is what we're doing. So I can see something like that in the future for us, for sure.
Right? Because I'm just thinking, I mean, you can't buy, certainly not a house in Toronto for less than $1 million.
Yeah.
I think the condo market has tanked a little, but you're still looking at, $600,000, $700,000, $800,000. For someone who's unhoused, the prospect of coming up with, even $200,000 or $300,000 to get started in the market is so unfathomable. And for some people, coming up with, $2,000 a month isn't possible. But if you had 2 or 3 people that were renting a space, then now all of a sudden we've taken, a small portion of an encampment and put them into an actual dedicated space where they can have, a place to call home.
Yeah. I think it's a great idea. Yeah. I'm going to bring it up at the next meeting. I mean it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. I look forward to seeing it. I love the way that you have taken your own personal experience and are using it not only to better position yourself in life and in society and for your family, obviously, but are doing it just to better, the world and the community around you. It's really, really phenomenal. if people want to connect with you, if people need your services, they want to follow you, they want to see what you're doing, they want to watch and make sure that you're adding, renters to Husmates. How do they reach you?
So we're on Instagram. So Nital Gosai on Instagram. If you want to email me, you absolutely can. It's ngosai@gosailaw.com. And you could follow us on Husmates, has an Instagram handle. Send us inquiries, send us thoughts. We're happy and open to hear everything.
Perfect. And Gosai is Gosai, correct?
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Gosai Law. Perfect. Thank you so much, Nital, for being on the
you.
show. Appreciate you.